Therapy Army. Let's be having you, people. Let's be having you. Comedyfc. Here we go. Here we go. Comedyfc. Yo, I've got people tonight. Trust me, it's going to go off tonight. It's a special one. Natalie. Natalie is back on. Man like CM was back on the channel. Not seen him for a while, but he's back on. We're going to be joined by a couple of other people soon. So smash a like on your way in, people, because it is a Netflix special featuring Man UFC. This is what we've become. We've gone from the laughingstock for 18 years to now even more of a laughingstock with everything that's going on with the Glazers, the Vultures, the parasites, and every other word you want to call them. But obviously, it's the beginning of the video, and I can't go down those words before they demonetize this video. But anyway, big up Therapy Army. Big up to all of you. Those of you in the UK, it's bacon in here. It's bacon. Bacon, mate. It's bacon. Listen, wherever you are in the UK, if you're in the UK, people, it is hot. Climate crisis, climate change is real. Trust me, because I've not known a June to be like this before. But obviously in Manchester, we're in Manchester, innit? So it's going to be raining next week and all of that. And if you're abroad, I'll be having a good one. It's summertime, wherever you are. If you're wherever you are, it's morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Love and light to you all. But yeah, we've got a hell of a show. We've got lots of things to discuss, man. Honestly, there's always talking points with Manchester United, but not more than so. All of the shenanigans that's been going on. People have been calling me out, calling the Reuters media agency as a clickbait. But I stand by it. I stand by it because something concrete comes out. And then, you know what I mean? There's some accountability to it. Now, I know, obviously, lots of NDA non-disclosure agreement have been signed. And I'm telling you now, nobody else but the Glazer family love them an NDA. They absolutely love them a non-disclosure agreement. So we already know about that, people. But it is what it is. So look, some people have been silent, don't know what's going on. But the biggest thing is what's going on in the New York Stock Exchange. You understand that 31% of the shares, Class B share, or the Class A shares? I think they're Class A shares. You see that, the frenzy that's going on. And actually, the New York Stock Exchange has suspended actually trading on the Manchester United 31% of those stocks because it's going to go way high. So it stay consistent. So there's something bubbling, but we need to get into it. But coming up today, we're going to be talking about Reuters versus the football journals, takeover chaos. I've just introduced a little bit of that. Kim has chooses Bayern. Like I always said to you, I always tell you, when Manchester United when they're bidding for a player against a serious football club, we always lose because we've had a culture of some of the most horrendous negotiators in the history of any football club. Never mind one of the biggest football clubs in world football. We have three clowns: Woodward, Judge, and still this other clown, Richard Arnold, who couldn't negotiate their way out of a paper bag. That just tells you, right? That just tells you who they are. And then obviously Caicedo, I genuinely think I rate Caicedo. I think Caicedo is a phenomenal footballer, and I think he'll be like missing out on Kante. I think we're going to regret that one. And then now Natalie, women's correspondent, Natalie is here to talk about Russo and what's going on with the women and the neglect of the women's team. Obviously, they've had their best ever season, just missing out on the league title and missing out on the FA Cup final. And I thought in that FA Cup final where we were the better team by absolute mile, and it was travesty to lose the FA Cup like that. But then you know what? I wasn't angry. I was so proud because they gave everything and they played football. It was just, they did everything but to put the football in the back of the net. And that's how it goes sometimes. So, and then De Gea, bombshell, the Miro Disco comes out and says, whoa, David De Gea is set to leave Manchester United. Well, you know what? I wish Dave led. He's a legend. But I just genuinely do think we need a new keeper now, a new challenge, some fresh young blood we need in that to freshen that squad up. But big up. But let's get into it. Reuters are coming out and basically came out with a big exclusive. They're more. They might be financial, but I know them more. Reuters to be one of the biggest news organizations in the world. And to me, I critique every news organization, because news has it. Every news organization. We've got a journalist on top there, CM, and he'll tell us he's fresh from doing his media degree, and he'll tell us about there's nothing that's objective. There is nothing that is seriously objective. It's always the modern media frame certain things. And I'm talking about the clickbait aspect of it. A lot of people came after me, but I've been seeing it since then, since they first came out with that news. They've been keeping posting because they've just seen millions and millions of fans worldwide interacting with them and not knowing who the hell Reuters were. So I am right when I mean they're clickbaiting the fans, even though the story can be true, but they're clickbaiting the fans as well at the same time. So we're going to get into that. And then obviously the football journals are like, nah, there's nothing coming out. So that's a bit of that. British football journals versus Reuters. Big up to Tom. I hope you're having it's baking hot in sunny Sheffield, my friend. No problem. I hope you're on the beers. You were in the beer gardens this evening having a couple to cool you down. Big up. But we'll go to our Natalie first. Natalie, I think I can imagine you were there in 2005, that first protest. I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, we saw each other outside, didn't we? You know, when the big one was there, and the whole game was called off and all that stuff. So yeah, I was been there from 2005 to just the other day, and all that kind of stuff, and behind the 1958, and I hear what you're saying about the Reuters clickbait. Of course, yeah, it's it's clickbaiting in a way, but in a way as well, I've been listening to people, and they were saying the way that it's going to come out is through like these financial people. Because really, when you think about it, stuff like football, I know I can tell you everything about football. I can tell you everything about the women's team or, following it. But I don't know about stock exchange, this and that. So you're going to have the news is going to come from people like Reuters or Financial Times or stuff like that, You're not going to hear it from, you might hear it eventually from like a Mike Keegan, but the people that are going to break it first are these kind of people that maybe don't usually talk about it, because the football people will just hear after. It's going to be when the financial stock exchange kind of people, oh, our exclusive is this, or what we've heard in the business market is this, So at first I thought it was Jim, but I am thinking now, since Qatar, since it came out that like they've sort of overtaken them, I do think they'll eventually win it. And I don't know when it'll come out. I'm not, we know they like to long it. How long have they been in this third, fourth bid, fifth bid, all this kind of stuff? It's foolishness. Yeah, we know they like to long it. We know that they don't care about our transfer windows or, any of our teams. They just want to get that money. As long as your money's green and the dollar bills are going up, they don't care. Yeah, so they will long it as long as they can. They'll be waiting for Jim to make a new bid. That's what they're waiting for now. Make a new bid. Because that's what it sort of said. It said, unless Jim can match it, or, so that's what they'll be waiting for now. That's what we're waiting for. And that's what they're waiting for. But I don't know. That's my view anyway on the whole, what you were saying at the start, mate.
100%, you were right. Like I said, we thought that Jim the Ratcliffe was going to go into bed with the Glazers, innit? Have to have a partnership into the Glazers. And for me, you're a rat if you do that. You have never supported Manchester United if you ever go into a consortium with the Glazers. For me, you're like, I dismiss you. I'm like, give that United card back. You're not a United fan because you know the pain and the suffering that they've caused to millions globally. And, those who live in Manchester and who have to see Man City do everything. At the end of the day, if Manchester United didn't have the Glazers, I promise you now, we'd be competing with them for every trophy if we didn't. Even after Fergie left, because we would have recovered. A club like ours that was so far ahead ain't doing what they did. But what we had, I always say this, and genuinely, this is what I give that analogy. Imagine a City fan, a Liverpool fan, and an Arsenal fan got together and cooked up a plan to destroy Manchester United. They could have never come up with a better plan than the Glazers. They could never have thought up more of a perfect way than the Glazers. They took $2 billion out in debt repayments. They spent $1 billion and gave it to a banker who does nothing about football to go and play Championship Manager. Like, it's ridiculous on everything. How like unprofessional, how they're just so inadequate. Like, just not up for the job, not up for the challenge. They've just been absolute parasites. They don't give a damn. They've only ever spoken to the Manchester United fans when we stopped the game over Super League. They've spoke to the United fans for 30 minutes. That Joe Glazer, 30 minutes in 18 years. So it shows you how much contempt they hold the fan base and how much they've just hit the jackpot if they do get their pay. But I'll go to you, CM. It's chaos, isn't it? It's absolutely chaos. And by the way, the breaking news today, because every other day, every half an hour is another breaking news. This could go on. So apparently there's news tonight as well, and today and yesterday as well. But Jim Ratcliffe might put another bid in. So they're going to be like getting Jim Ratcliffe, Qatar, Jim Ratcliffe, Qatar. Like, this is what it's going to be. Jim Ratcliffe now, Qatar now. So this can go on for years and years into this, while a football club is on its fucking knees. And I'm a believer. To me, I always say Casey Stoney was the last integrity person in the whole of anybody who's been employed by Manchester United since Fergie left. You know what I mean? Since Fergie retired. She's the only one in integrity because she left. She saw what the writing on the wall. She's like, you don't need to tell me twice. You don't need to show me who you are. I've seen it once. I'm gone. So it's what it is. So I just think whatever. I love the background, by the way, CM. Lovely, lovely. I love it. It looks brilliant, bro. Talk to me. So the chaos, what you see, what you're observing, obviously as a media, as a journalist, you know what I mean? We got two journalists here tonight. Tom, journalist one, and we got our CM, journalist. Go ahead.
It's been chaos. I was kind of thinking deeply from the other day when the Reuters story came out and how there was a lot of excitement around this story, because I had to read it a few times to get my head around it, because they worded things in a very specific way that I felt would have controlled or really excited the fan base to think the way they were. And then when the English journalists were coming out now, it was really interesting because it was like a uber positive story that was highlighting that maybe things are moving forward for Manchester United and things are getting closer. Whereas the journalists in the UK were kind of a bit more reserved, a bit more negative, and then that caused backlash towards them. And it was funny enough because, you know, there were a few of the journalists that went on to some of the fan channel platforms and kind of said their piece on a personal level and also on a journalistic level at the same time. So, you know, we can see it's affecting them, but I've just found it really interesting because throughout this whole process, I was kind of detached towards the end of the season, and I've become more interested as we can focus more on it now. And just time and time again, the different stories come out, and it doesn't matter what journalist is putting them out in particular. More stories come out, and it's almost like they're trying to keep the narrative alive for themselves. Whereas Manchester United fans want to hear the truth. And obviously we are anxious. We want to hear that the process is moving forwards. Whereas we keep on hearing about the different bids and them carrying it over to a next bid and a next bid, which it just seems like at this point, like you guys said, the Glazers are trying to get the most money out of somebody. We even had the story the other day where apparently the Glazers were trying to bypass the Rain Group and speak to the PSG owner to try and contact Qatar. So it's been a wild last few weeks and months in regards to all of the stories that have come out. And it's just disappointing because you look at this transfer window in particular, we're coming off a good first season for Erik ten Hag, and we need to take advantage of this. But like we all know, with the board members that we have, the people controlling the transfers and all of the first team affairs, and not just that, the youth teams as well, the women's team, everywhere in Manchester United is in disarray right now because of the way that we're run. And it's going to take a new ownership to evaluate the whole situation around the club and make the relevant changes in order for us to start clearing up some of that culture that's been lost in the last decade or so. And the most disappointing thing for me was not seeing that we were able to have some sort of a conclusion when it comes to this ownership situation, because now it's eating into this transfer window and we're not the quickest of starters when it comes to transfers as it is. So it's eating into this transfer window, and there's still going to have to be somewhat of an evaluation of the facilities, of the personnel that work within there. So that could possibly push things even further in terms of the development of this squad and what Eric Ten Hag wants to do with the team. So it's just the same thing when it comes to Manchester United. Is transfer window rumors, not a lot of truth. You don't know what's true from what's false in the end of the day. And then when it comes to this ownership situation, it's like one big negative round circle that just keeps on spinning around and round and round, and it is frustrating. I hope we can find somewhat of a conclusion, but it just doesn't seem like right now there's light, at least close. You're close to the end of that tunnel, because a story may come out today and it makes you think a certain way, like, okay, there's something to look upon. There's something positive to at least look forward to next week or today. But then a story, journalism is a thing where a story can be valid today, but tomorrow it's not valid at all. And that's been this whole process.
Nah, definitely, 100%. Tom, obviously you've been updating us closely on this takeover. What are you seeing from now? How this chaos is beginning? How this chaos is what the chaos that is the comedy special that it keeps giving, in it. Honestly, Alien Tunnel said there it's like the Wonder Years. Yeah, the Wonder Years. You know, in it. Certain ones of you are of a certain age, you will know. Listen, it's already 150 of you in here, people. Smash a like. It costs you absolutely nothing. That's the only thing I have on this channel. Costs you absolutely nothing, and it gets boost the algorithm. It lets more people see the content. Like, you know what? It's the podcast. It's raw, it's red, and it's real. No sugarcoating here. I'm critical as anybody. I don't look at anything. I don't go be positive for being positive sake. I'm sorry. You come to the wrong place. Here we go behind the headlines and we talk about the substance stuff, the issues, the chronic issues at this football club due to that family, that the disdain they have for the fan base and the disdain they have for something they owe, and that's something they use. You know what I mean? Just use as a toy just to get money out from. But Tom, how are you seeing things?
Well, I'm seeing things pretty clear as to, like you said, everybody's already said, like, it's a case of tennis, really, and they keep tossing off, and then what 1 minute the ball goes to one end of the court, and suddenly it's Sheikh Yassim, and then there's Sir Jim Ratcliffe might up his bid, and then Sheikh Yassim insisted that he was walking away, and he's not making any further bids, and listen, there's so many moving parts, and the best way I guess I can describe it is, any person who, if you like, has a football background of this, personally, I think they're the second people that you think of, really. Because as much as they know a lot about football, say like Natalie said, in terms of herself, knows a lot about football, but about business, finance, and how it all works and everything, no, absolutely jack and Ori. The big media companies, in terms of business, you've already announced with one of them, who's been reporting all of this anyway in Reuters. You've then got Bloomberg, you've got Financial Times. These are the sort of articles that you want to hear in terms of when they go into actual details around certain things. An individual and a person, like, for example, a lot of these journalists, I would translate them as being either Manchester United correspondents or the transfer gurus. That's it. Literally, like if you got them on Sky Sports, you don't ever have a tagline on Sky Sports saying "Takeover Guru" or anything like that. No, like either the brand that you work for, or you dare to talk about a transfer or whatever's going on in that sort of capacity. You don't ever have, whenever you see somebody from Bloomberg ever, do an interview via Sky or BT or whatever on, say, the Premier League, like new rules around FFP or something like that, and try to explain it to people. You never get that, do you? That's the one thing that you can say. But no, in terms of the takeover, I mean, from the indications that I had from late last night was that the pendulum had swung towards Sheikh Yassim, and the Glazer family are looking more towards Sheikh Yassim's offer due to the fact of it's a bigger valuation than they've ever had from him and his consortium, and as you've already outlined, they're with NDA agreements, so the numbers aren't official and aren't for public knowledge. And two, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's offer, as far as I know from now, isn't all that it seems, and there is a legal battle that he would face in terms of the shares and how the the other stakeholders who own shares and stocks on New York Stock Exchange can liably sue him and the Glazer family for billions, for up to over £1 billion, for what I know anyway. But you know, and the Glazer family will look at that and think, well, with Sir Jim, you're going to have the fan base, but they've never cared about the fan base anyway. So a bit of backlash from fans isn't going to really do them harm, but something that can do the bank balance harm, suddenly, like the alarm bells are fluttering. And Sir Jim, I mean, as far as I know anyway, because of the crisis that's going on in America within the business world, he can only get $5 billion. So this myth around that he wanted 69% from the very beginning, I think it's bullshit, if I'm being completely honest. Pardon my language. When you can't get £6 billion from anywhere, why do you think, for example, now, just to give an example, why do you think there's not a lot of American consortium groups that are in this bidding right now? Because the American economy and markets are pretty much on the brink of going bust, and B, you can't get financing for that sort of figure unless you're probably one of the project managers within those banks. And therefore, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, why do we think he's only, got the money to buy a partial stake? But anyway, the roundup is really that from the sort of US sort of side of things, they're saying that the pendulum swung to Sheikh Yassin, but as everybody's alluded to, and I've always alluded to, you're not even halfway through yet. You're not even halfway through. You've got to go to the Premier League. Whether it's Sir Jim or Sheikh Yassin, they're going to investigate the funds. They're going to investigate everything. They've got to do it with any takeover.
No. Let's say apparently it could be if they accepted, let's say tonight, they accepted it. It's going to take.
Well, I mean, the only thing in terms of people saying that it's going to impact the transfer window, the damage was already done last summer anyway, because it's basically ruined this summer. Because the overpaying that we did last summer has now, caught up with us, because Man United are on the amber list for FFP. And if you, in terms of the breaches, if you go over spending £100 million without balancing the books, and the biggest problem, especially if the Glazer family are in control of the football club still, whenever have Manchester United been a brilliant selling club? We never have, really, let's be honest. Not for years anyway. I can't think of a major player apart from maybe Lukaku in the modern era that we've sold on for big money, really. Aside from that, like the odd one, Di Maria or whatever. But
listen,
we've never sold big players.
Those players you mentioned, we lost money on them.
Exactly, we've lost money on. So we've not even gained. This is what I mean. You're making losses, not gains. And the only thing, especially around the whole transfer market, we already know, Erik ten Hag already knows he has pretty much £100 million budget from the get-go. But in terms of with how the FFP rules are working with us right now, if Man United don't make at least £80 million probably in player sales, like he's only probably going to get maybe one player that he actually wants, and maybe a second choice player, because he's not getting Kim Min-jae, as you've already alluded to. Which really, I think really he wanted probably we know that he wanted 2 players going on tour. I think realistically, he knew Harry Kane was a long shot to go on a preseason tour. He probably thought Mason Mount, he's got 1 year on his contract, we can get him. Kim Min-jae, release clause, we can get him before preseason tour, yada. And really, they're bottling it. They have bottled it. Let's not put it frank. They've bottled it. John Murtough, Richard Arnold, mate. These people that some people praise and, think they're Allah or, Jesus or whatever, they ain't. They really ain't. And as I've always alluded to, just a final point, they went around Europe last summer on a jolly up and a piss up. They went to Turin, came back with nothing from Rabiot. They pissed about for Frankie de Jong for a player that didn't even want to come for 3 months. Like, you're negotiating for a player to come to your football club that doesn't want to come. Do you really think Manchester City would sit around on a player like that? No, they'd go and get somebody else, wouldn't they? And what did we do then? We just stumbled upon Casemiro, who we claimed to have wanted all summer, but we didn't. And like I said, I'm in agreement with you. I think if we don't get I think if we miss out on Caicedo, I think we'll live to regret it. I mean, we already have, haven't we, really? Let's be honest. We had the chance to sign him for like peanuts, and we didn't. And now you're going to have to pay millions. So,
listen, it is what it is. Big up, Tom. Sean Thomas, how are you? Big up to you.
I'm good. Big up, everyone.
Yeah, man. We're in NA. Check out his podcast. political podcast he does called How We See Things, people. You can get it all across all your podcasting providers.
Appreciate it,
Sean,
Nerdin.
talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you see this comedy?
To set the ground, I think I agree with what you were saying earlier, that Reuters is one of the most reputable news organizations. So I haven't been paying attention to any of the news, but if Reuters is saying something, then I personally believe. And what it looks like is that Qatar and Sheikh Yassim are the front runners essentially for the deal. But I think the point I want to stress for everyone to consider is that it's going to take some time. So there's a very big possibility that we go into next season, the owners of the club, for all intents and purposes. I think that's where I blame the Glazers. That to me is the biggest issue, that they didn't start this process on time. And so as a result of that, it's affecting our dealings in the transfer market. I think we look unserious, to be frank. We're having many conversations, agreeing personal terms, but we're not actually putting in concrete offers for any of the players that we want. So we kind of look unserious in the market, and we're handicapping our manager, Ten Hag. So I don't know what the internal workings are, but I think there needs to be a clear demarcation between the people managing the takeover and the people handling the transfer, and transfers in the market. Because as it is right now, we're losing out on many of our top targets. And, this last season was already difficult. If we don't sign players if we don't sign players quickly, we're going to be in trouble. I don't think we would have too much stress selling some players. I know people don't see us as a selling club, but we do. We've already let go of 2 players. I think we're about to let go of another one in De Gea. I wouldn't be surprised to see us, make some sales in the coming weeks. But one more thing I want United fans to take into consideration is, as much as we all hate the Glazers and everything, but let's remember that badge, that United badge, is one of the most recognizable, one of the most valuable brands worldwide. What that means is that if United is trying to buy a player, there is at least a 20 to 40 million pound tax on that player. So if United and Liverpool are going in for the same player, it's going to be more expensive for United to buy that player than it's going to be for Liverpool. And that's just a normal fact of life. If you or I were a trader and we saw someone come into our shop, one person was wearing a Gucci bag and the other person was just carrying a normal bag, you would price your goods more expensive, for the person wearing the Gucci bag than you would for the other person. And it's just the way that the market works, it's considered. So my biggest concern really is the transfer market. Who are we signing? Let's get it done quickly. It looks like a lot of the valuable players or really good players are going fast. It's going to pain me if Kim Min-jae actually goes to Bayern, because he seems perfect for us, just perfect for us. So that would hurt. One of Caicedo or Declan Rice, we should be trying to sign as well. But it's not looking good. That's my only issue, that the transfer window is being affected by this nonsense. It looks like, because it looks like, where it's causing delays, it's affecting our ability to be able to put in formal bids. So yeah, that's my number one issue, that we can't sign any players like it looks like now, because we're dilly-dallying, the market, trying to sell the club.
No, 100%. Big up to you, Sean Thomas. Listen, at the end of the day, the only thing I disagree slightly is that this tax, if you got good negotiators, they get the job done. And if you give them money, so basically the reason why Manchester City get players really early is because other than paying the contract like Manchester United we do, we pay it over 10 years or whatever. Let's say Maguire, we have to give the cash because they needed it for their training ground. That's the biggest piss take, Leicester. And that's why I was like, them going down, bit of a karma. They knew they sold us a dud. Everybody knew they sold us a dud. So at the end of the day,
but Nuruddin, to be fair, that tax is a normal market principle.
Listen, let me explain. Let me finish. The reason why Manchester City, because they've got top negotiators. The best clubs in the world, like Barcelona, they've got top negotiators, really good negotiators. Barcelona's name means something. Real Madrid's name means something. They buy players for premium. There's certain players, but not every player is for premium for money. What they have is really thought out a strategic plan. They sell the dream to the club. So now, any of these players that wanted to join Manchester United, you're supposed to sell the vision and the strategy. What's the strategy? Like, what are you going to sell now? We're owned by the Glazers.
I agree with you.
Now, let me finish. Every footballer and their nan knows how absolute abysmal we're run. Listen, I know people who are intermediaries that work with agents. I know 1 or 2 football agents that one of my brethren, 2 of them are football agents. I'm telling you, when they go speak to big agents, I'm talking about famous agents, Manchester United is the laughing stock. We are the laughing stock. We were not that before with Fergie. We were not that. We became the laughing stock when Woodward and the bankers took control of the fucking club. So I'm sorry, I reject it. Manchester City pay for players. They give the money cash. They don't get a bank loan to go and get you the player. They give the money cash. And majority of clubs prefer that money because they need that cash injection. They prefer that other than having a loan that's broken down like a Littlewoods flipping Littlewoods what was that thing called where you used to go and pay Littlewoods, you pay
catalogue, like the catalogue.
That's it, Littlewoods catalogue. Like that the player, the winger that Arsenal had, where they were paying it over 8 years, 9 years. Nah, it's madness. I'm not having this. Manchester United negotiating team, Matt Judge, Ed Woodward, these guys were absolute abysmal and a joke and a laughing stock. And if you lived in the UK, if you lived in Manchester, Sean, you will hear that by everybody and their nan that knows an agent will tell you Manchester United are laughing stock.
No, I agree with you.
All this about tax, yes.
No,
So,
I agree with you, but I think
listen, with English players, the tax applies to all the big teams. With English players, unless they've got a clause on their contract.
Nudin, I agree with you, but I think in this case, like multiple things can be true, at the same time. I definitely agree with you that Ed Woodward and those guys set a precedent that you could fleece United, that you could take advantage of the United, team and charge more than you need to, and that precedent is still affecting us today. But I also think that United being United, it's just the way it is, and so Real Madrid also suffers from this to an extent. But I think Real Madrid is such a historical, storied club that they can get away with it sometimes. But if you're negotiating with a club, not necessarily like the player, entirely. It's the club who sets the price, for the player. And let's not even dwell on this point. I completely agree with you that the guys running the ship at United set a foolish precedent post Fergie, that we were trying to be a galactical club without the success on the pitch. And because of that, we were overpaying for players, and that set a precedent that is still affecting us till today. That's fine, but that's the circumstance. That's the market that we have to deal with. That's the situation that we kind of have to navigate right now.
That. But they actually signed players for the length of the contract. They didn't sign players because of the quality, whether the player is good or not. Glazeonomics, that's why we talk about Glazeonomics is about the wages that they give the player. So if they give them good wages, and if the length of the contract, that means it keeps their stocks high, mate. The shares high. That's why we don't operate. We don't do it in the interest. We do it on the fucking interest of the New York Stock Exchange. That's how we run. But I'm going to come to you, Natalie. Natalie, you just talk to me about the agents of the women.
The women's side, the way it's run. I mean, I'm a bit like you in that I sort of know the intermediaries, the actual agents, some of the big ones, some of the little ones. Boy, is United are run shambolically. Like I was speaking to someone today who said they want to get their player, just talk about what's going to be the next step for them, sign a new contract, whether it's stay, go, whatever it is. They're in a contract now, but of course, the way it's going, women's football's on the boom. They're on the boom. There could be other players with this agent. He deals with quite, world-class talent. Man United women are going to the Champions League. They need world-class talent, and he picks up the phone to try and ring them. Nothing. Try and arrange a face-to-face meeting. Nothing. And, this is where it's running on the women's side. And I know that people might say here, women's football, this and that, but it's not like that. It's Man United. It should be run in a standard. If we know that the men's team is being run where, agents, this and that, it's, getting taken advantage of. people are ringing up, offering us players that, are playing for Lyon, playing in Champions League finals, players that are making like the team of the year and stuff out in France, players that are going to be like the next big thing, and we're just turning them down. So it's not just happening in the men's side. We're not just turning down those young talents coming through. There's a girl who plays for Haiti, and there's Michelle Dumari. Watch it, because they're going to play England. So if you're ever watching the Women's World Cup, watch the girl from Haiti. She's their star girl. She's the one who got the Haiti national women's team, to the World Cup. Ducario, I'm not very good at names, but we had the chance to sign her. Now she's gone to Lyon, and that's where we're at. There's players like that with Chelsea. These are things that are happening not just on the men's side, but they're happening on the women's side as well. And they're trying to get a bit better at the women, but it's just like people are saying, it's chaos everywhere, and it's just not going well.
No, 100%. I remember when Patrice Evra, that period of space where he was allowed on Sky Sports. Evra is mad. I love Evra. But blowing David Moyes up and everybody else, blowing everybody up. He basically said that people were ringing Matt Judge, like players that wanted to come to Manchester United, quality players. And Matt Judge was like, nah, not answering the phone. Guys,
they couldn't get through.
Yeah. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I think whether it's the women's or the men's, it's all inadequate. And that's how we are chaos. That's when I try to explain deep down. I've done the research. I just want to be a normal football fan and just go to that stadium, enjoy my time, come out of that stadium and support any team that represents Manchester United without having to do research. Now, in world football, there's no perfect owners. There's no perfect human beings. There's no perfect anything. But you know what it is? People who strive to be competitive, have a vision, have clear aims and goals and strategy, especially when we were so far ahead. From the way that Fergie ran the shit, the way the bankers were allowed to come and do whatever they were doing, it's like, yeah, you think maybe 2 seasons, 3 seasons. At the most, you go 4. Nah.
Let me ask you a question, Nurjan. Let me ask you a question. Do you like...
You know what, Sean? I'll even ask you. You work in the corporate sector, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. So if there was failure in the corporate sector for 4 consecutive years, heads are rolling straight away.
No. I mean, but like, what do you do when the failure comes from the owners? Because it's the owners who are supposed to do the head chopping. But if the owners of the club, are in a position where they're the ones failing, where we find ourselves in the situation where we are right now. The question I wanted to ask you, though, and to ask the panel as well, and everybody, all the fans listening, consider Man City's model. Consider the possible Newcastle model. Are you guys comfortable, and this is just throwing it out there, are we comfortable with doing the behind the back door compensation structure that Man City has, where we buy them for X amount on paper and then inflate some sponsorship deal to make the value of the transaction actually, worth more than it is on paper? Because chances are Man City are guilty of several of the charges that, they are being accused of. So that's one consideration. Second consideration is that...
Listen, I'll just come in quickly answer that. The only big difference is that, bro, we've got triple or quadruple the fan base Man City have and Newcastle have. That's the big difference. And also, the market would look at what's the market for this type of club, for this type of sponsorship. They would always look at Manchester United and what it is. We are a globe. You keep telling me we are a monster of a football club. We are almost as big as the New York Giants. Remember New York Giants were
we're one of the most valuable brands in the world. Yeah.
Exactly. So the reason that we don't need to inflate anything, the biggest thing for me is this: where the Qataris come in, they don't even have to buy. They don't have to spend a lot of money. They have to build us a stadium. They have to start at a training ground. They have to build a women and a youth team stadium and around Old Trafford. Facts. They have to do the infrastructure. But once they get back winning, it will be self-sustainable. But at this moment, we're not sensible because we're in £1 billion in debt. CM, I'm going to come to you. Sean raised the thing. To me, I answer his question, but I just don't see it applying. Because I look at how many people turned up for their treble, their greatest in their history. And compared to us, when the treble was, it was like 1.5 million people. that turned up. Greater Manchester's 4 billion, so 4 million, and 1.5 million were on the streets. Two things: the protests against the Iraq War in February, that cold, rainy February in London, both times, and a 99 parade. Both times, I stood on a traffic light, and I'm quite tall as it is, but I stood on traffic light. The farthest that I can see, I look left, I see people. The farthest that I can see, I look right, I see people. And I can see people like into the distance. My eyes are quite good. Recently, my eyes have been not bad, because they're obviously modern technology and that. And obviously certain things that maybe with the eyes, like you get older, sometimes your eyes fail. But I'm just saying to you, like, that tells me everything I need to know where Manchester United don't have to be in that sense. Don't have to be. Big up Jarvis for joining us as well. Go ahead, CM.
Yeah, the most important thing you guys said is the fact that it's Manchester United, our fan base, the money we're able to make on the back of everything we have going as a club, based off of our reputation globally. And I'd like to delve a little bit into kind of the conversation we were on before regarding the tax that gets added to a Manchester United transfer, because I do agree with Sean where he says there are a lot of factors that go into certain things. But when you look at Manchester United, from 2013 onwards, we lost our two biggest people when it comes to the operations around the football club. So Nuruddin speaks about the likes of Richard Arnold, Murto, and all of those guys, Edward Wood, coming into the club. And for me, one of the biggest factors when it comes to transfers is the fact that we're always 2 steps behind. So when clubs who have assets understand that Manchester United will come in for a certain player and they need a certain player, always when somebody knows that you need something that is in their possession, they're gonna make you go for a few loopholes to try and take ownership of that said player, for example. So the operations around the football club in general, that just hurts us. And we speak about the transfer window last year, where we had to go in late for Anthony and overspend, Casemiro, all of those guys, when we were speaking about before and saying, if we went in a little earlier, we could have got him for a bit cheaper and potentially added an extra player into the squad to strengthen. And I think it was Richard Arnold who had that little impromptu meeting or speech where he was talking to the fans and saying, we're trying our best, we overspent, or we're ahead of expectations and all of that stuff. And to me, it's like, that is not because you're trying. That is a lack of preparation from start to finish. And it's as simple as that, because how can a big club like Manchester United fail to prepare? Now, we've said all season Erik ten Hag has been working wonders. He's able to win a trophy. We lost the cup final against Manchester City. But in general, we had a good campaign. But if this continues into next season, there could be major problems to come, especially if the Glazers are still owners and we're going to have to navigate our way through this transfer window. Because once again, if they've proved to us, and they brought in different people, so we have the likes of Arnold in now operating, but they're really in-house. So they're the same product, different faces. So if they've already proved to us through 1 or 2 transfer windows already that they've failed to prepare, then at some point, we're going to have to prepare to fail.
Big up Mick Ruby, Man UFC Realist TV. Make sure you check that channel out. Road to 20k, people. Go on, Mick.
Hey, sorry we're late. We just finished off a stream, me and Jarvis, so...
Yeah. Listen, it's all good, man. It's all good. It's all love.
I get it. All love.
Yeah, the biggest thing what you said, CM, it's the things that you were saying about, like, when I tell people, go and check out the quote that he gave to Simon Stone. Richard Arnold, our current CEO, said, actually, we like transfer speculations because it really shows our interactions on the social and on our social media channels. So when you're talking about things being late, and the other thing I want to bring in quickly as well, there's a consultancy firm that's based in Switzerland. I forgot the actual name of them, but what they look at every season, this one will be the same. When the window closes in Europe, they'll calculate who's done the best deals, and they'll calculate who's overpaid. Now, according to them, this is a conservative estimate, right? Manchester United last summer overspent by 77 million. So when we're going around and telling Eric Ten Hag, and he let it slip before the FA Cup, or even after the FA Cup, maybe before the FA Cup, he let it slip saying other teams got their signings in January. I wasn't backed in January. You know, we're getting him a workhorse and a Sabitzer who now we understand his best years are behind him, because you see that he is an injury-prone guy. On a loan, he's injured 3 times on a loan. Like, it's ridiculous. So what that tells me is that that 77 million we overspent, we could have spent that in January. We could have bought 2 players, a striker and a midfield player. We could have signed. We could have split that in that January, but we didn't. And genuinely, I'll post it again on Twitter. It's not me saying it. I already knew, because I've followed Glazonomics, the trajectory that which we go on. We drag out everything, even Mikael Fellaini, for effing sake. Do you guys remember? Fellaini was on the last minute of the last of that transfer. Manchester United overpaid. We got bent over by Everton. 27 million or something like that, plus add-ons. So when I talk about what, I get frustrated because people just go, you're negative. No, because you don't like the reality and what your club is. You don't like it. That's not my fault. For years, I was like, this manager out, that manager out. Then I thought, you know what? It can't be all be the managers. It can't be the managers. What is it?
We used to have them chats, innit? We used to have them chats. It's not always the manager.
Yeah. And Natalie, to be fair to her, she said to me, Rodin, it's not all the manager, it's the Glazers. And I used to know it's the Glazers, but I never used to try and make the link, whatever. Because as football, we're just reactionary. We go into the game, we come out of the stadium, we're like, what the F was that? This is what the conversation, what we have. So for me, Glazonomics, the way the Glazers have run and the way they continue to run us now, is the way, and that's why they always employ from within. They never like guys who come from the outside. Who was the guy that came from the outside that told the truth about the football club? Ranić.
Right.
He was gone like that. Him and Murta, by the way, would stop speaking 3 months before it was over. Let me repeat that to you again. Him and Murta stopped speaking 3 months before. Can you imagine? The director of football, the guy that hired you, right? Manchester United had 5. Lucien Ferrer, Ralf Ranić, Vivaldi, Rudy Costa, was it something Louise, the guy that was in Paris. I forgot the guy that was in Paris. And then they had somebody else. I think it was Locatelli, if I'm not mistaken. They had 5 people and they gave the job to the guy who not done any coaching for almost a decade. And then they blagged it. Neil Ashton puts it out there and says, oh yeah, 2-year consultancy. And Ranić on the first interview told you, there's no point of me coming if it wasn't going to get the consultative role. And then I was in, I've not seen the details. I'm not getting giddy or excited. The reason why I wanted Ranić is not because I knew he's going to be like a substitute teacher. And, you know, people are going to, you know, we've been there. When a substitute teacher came into my classroom, everybody was taking the mick out of him. As soon as they turned to face the board, everybody's crunching paper and throwing it at the back of his head. That's what it used to be. They were never going to listen to him when you had Solskjaer, who was a dead man walking. Then you had Carrick. Then you had Ranić. They weren't going to listen to anybody, the players. So we already knew this. But the biggest thing, majority of us, like, okay, now a footballing operator, well-known, well-established guy is going to be the guy who's going to be taking the ship by the horns, kicking or screaming, taking it. No, did he? Heck? The current director of football stopped talking to him. And then that's why then if you watch the press conferences, that's when he lets loose and start telling the truth.
To be fair though, Nuruddin, Ragnick failed at his number 1 job though, which was winning matches. But I agree with you, everything you're saying too.
Yeah, but you know and I know players. Listen, there's a famous rule in football, famous rule, especially professional footballers. If you give them any excuse, they will take it and more. You give them an inch and they will take it. Right? Fred gave an interview, I think it might have been a Brazilian magazine, and he was like, we don't know what's going on. We wanted a permanent manager. We don't know what. He's telling you basically, ain't nobody taking any issue with this guy. That's why we saw what we saw. The worst Premier League season in the history of Manchester United in the Premier League. So at the end of the day, but Jarvis, the chaos. 1 minute is this, 1 minute is that. Reuters versus the everything that's happening. Where do you stand? How do you see it? And now, right, I want to bring you in. I 100% believe Moses Caicedo is going to be a guy we're gonna regret like we regretted Kante. I 100% believe that. When we come up against any respectable football club, we lose out. So Kim Min-jae chooses who? He chooses Bayern. Because Bayern, anyway, for any players who come to Manchester United, I want to ask you this question and I'll move on to Mick. When you sign for a football club, you want to know what's the vision. Every footballer and their nan knows the Glazers have made a mess with the bankers at Manchester United. Manchester United are just the name for Manchester United. In reality, we're not that club anymore. So if you're signing, if I'm signing for Man, I'm like, who's going to be the owners? I want to know. I want to know what club I'm going to. I want to know what's the strategy, what's the vision, what's the long-term goals for this football club. But Kim Min-jae, Bayern already, they won the league. Guess what? Sack the sporting director, sack the president. They just won the league. 2 hours later, bam, bam, gone. Real football club. Move like a real football club. But we're not a football club. So I don't know even why I'm getting angst about it. We're not. We operate on a New York Stock Exchange. But talk to me. And then
you're spot on. They sacked Oliver Kahn and they won the league title and everything. So that's Bayern. But we are totally unprofessional when it comes to running the football club. As you said, when Murtog didn't want to speak to Rangnick a couple of months after we hired him, and they went on 3 months without speaking, it says a lot about the how unprofessional we operate as a club. It's a shambles when you think about it. They should have settled everything and focused on the football, try to win more games, maybe qualify for the Champions League. But they didn't. They just wrote off the season and said, okay, this season is off. Let's focus on next year because then Ten Hag is here. They don't think of the football side of the club. And that's why it's so important that the Glazers are getting out of here, that we are getting the club sold 100%. No dilly-dally, 75, 50%, whatever, and Glazers stay with the B shares and 10% more voting rights and all that. It's a mess at the moment. I agree with you when we come to Caicedo. Excellent player. He's fantastic. I don't think we will get him. I don't think we will get Kim. I don't think we will get the targets we want. At the moment, everything is on hold. It's I don't think Ten Hag knows what to do next season. I think we are in a mess and more of a mess than people realize, because how can you, when you come to the opening of the transfer window and you don't know how much money you have, you don't know what's going to happen next year, next season, we don't know anything. And Ten Hag, he has the players to work with. Are we going to sell? Is De Gea going to sign a new contract? Do you need a new goalkeeper who is on a free transfer? It's so many questions, and we don't know what to do. So I hope that we can settle this sale very fast. But the Glazers, it can take all the summer. Maybe we will wait until the end of August before we know anything else. So maybe we don't sign players until January if things move in the pace the Glazers used to do. So over to Mick.
No, I got so much things to say that I usually don't say on my channel, but it's
guys, Scholes, he just brought home a pigeon with his head hanging, half of it hanging.
Oh no! At least Scholes is ruthless. I mean, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Honestly, it's like a gift. He just brings it. He brings these gifts. Like,
he loves you so much. He brings that. That's what they do. They bring gifts to you, right? So that happens to my cat too. Brings pigeons and whatever to the doorstep.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
no, stop! Stop right there!
Cut. Beep.
Moses, don't put him on there. Don't put him on there. No.
Go. We take over from here.
Listen,
It's all right.
yeah, I've got to sort this out. Oh,
Scholes
guys,
is on fire, man.
We
let me
got
just
it.
get quickly super chats. Big up Kadeem Dixon. Scholesy, don't get on the couch with a dead bleeding pigeon. Don't do it to me. Right. Big up Kadeem Dixon. Players.
Go sort Scholes out, right? We can take a
We
break
pay
here.
us money until we start winning. It will always cost us. Facts, absolute facts, and a brilliant point. Alien Tenno says these bastards have.
Yeah.
Of course they have. Listen, big up to everybody. Listen, Mick, you can't answer that question.
I got it. It's Scholes, all right. I just usually don't say what I usually don't say on my channel, but this is turning to a farcical in media. Like, it's becoming a media war where you have football journalists going at the Reuters, which is the most credible when it comes to finances. Like, Anirban Sen is the editor in charge. Like, this guy is he's a heavyweight. So it's basically Skinny Bob the Builder going in the ring against like Mike Tyson trying to punch a swing, and they keep going at each other, like discrediting each other, right? Obviously, like Reuters, they don't have a dog in the fight with this. They don't go into footballing matters. They are going finances, and they're being briefed by Rain Group, who sits in New York. They sit in New York, and they've been fighting on each other on Twitter, saying, no, we're still right. Hang on a second, you're wrong. So basically, obviously, they get briefed by Neil Ashton, the PR spin on Manchester United, to say there's nothing into it, because, as what Nuruddin always say, like, social media interaction generates a lot of revenues and clicks for the club, right? And on the other hand, I also think that this is a kind of the Glazers to giving back, having us in a cockhole, to be honest, right? To say, hang on, you've been protesting, and, this is our way to sort of delay things, so we're going to fuck you over at the end. I don't know. Just my speculations to say, because this is Glazers, right? All in general, like, I think it's media is kind of outed themselves to shot themselves in the knee. So I'm just saying that stick to transfers, stick to being football journalists instead of being, trying to break the story. Who's going to be first to break the story? Who, about Manchester United, new ownership, but you don't really write about, the Glazers been looting the club for 18 years. Nothing mentioned about that, so. All in general, they're all backing each other. They all have each other's backs. Like, I'm talking about certain. I'm not going to mention names. I'm allowed to mention names. So, but we all know who they are, right? They're all backing each other. So, and obviously, this is creating like contradictory reports, because they're all getting different information from different sources. Some might get it from some club official. They don't have any idea Scooby-Doo because the NDA isn't tied in. So they're not going to say anything, right? They just say, well, no, nothing as of yet. I don't know anything. And they go by that, and they're obviously calling the reception at Ineos. They're calling the reception at Rain Group. The front desk officer don't say anything. It's tight-lipped, right? So I go on Reuters. I go on this credible journalist that I actually reached out to as well. He is a very credible guy. He's the one that even wrote about Chelsea. This guy only comes out when it comes with IPOs, mergers and acquisitions. Breaks the story. He's got an exclusive. Why would you give an exclusive to like the Independent, the Times? You go to one of those Bloombergs, Reuters. If anyone's going to come up with a statement, it's going to be Bloomberg or Reuters together with Rainy Group, or through a statement through a club, through the club website. It's perfectly normal. It's gamemanship at the end of the day. So all we want to do is like get this done. We've seen the stock prices gone up, shooting up. There's no smoke without fire when even Middle Eastern papers going out and write, and everyone knows that it's a criminal offense to print misinformation in the Middle East, in Qatar and Dubai and in the Emirates and in Saudi Arabia. So I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, Mickey, though, like I agree with you. I trust the Reuters, I trust Reuters and Bloomberg more than any of these Daily Mail journalists that are commenting on the stuff. But I think I understand why United will want to manage expectations. So as you were alluding to, I think what Nuruddin alluded to earlier, the New York Stock Exchange had to stop trading on Man U's stock because of volatility. So I don't blame the club or the management of the club for trying to manage expectations and limit, I guess, the amount of information that is out there. I think one, it increases their leverage. So, they wouldn't want the Qataris feeling like it's a done deal in case there are certain points that the Glazers still want to extract from the Glazers. If there's more money more concessions from them, whatever it is. They wouldn't want that narrative out there that the Glazers that Qataris have already won and it's already a done deal. So I understand. And I know we all hate the Glazers, but it's their prerogative. Like, they own the
No, but
club. It's
you
well
also got to
within their
look
right
at
to extract as much
the
money as possible.
Glaze,
Sorry, go ahead.
Glazes and Rainy Group was also pissed off when they came out public to announce they were in the bid. That's one thing. And now they're also pissed off that this is leaked out, that it's almost a done deal. It's a exclusive. They don't want this to come out because at the end of the day, they want to feed the press. Press generates money. As long as you can go with this narrative, everyone profits, right? And this is the Glazeonomics and Neil Ashton spinning plates as usual. Same goes with the transfer markets. I don't believe a fucking jack shit what they are printing, because at the end of the day, they want us to believe, right? That's the thing.
I mean, so
And
in 2023, it's perfectly normal for a business to be concerned about social media impressions. In
yes,
fact,
it is.
that is like the core, approach for many businesses now. If you don't have social media impression, you're not even doing anything, basically. So I understand why, as a club, they will be concerned about the impression that they get on social media, and they would want to drive more engagement for the brand. Because whereas in the past, where the value of your brand had to do with how many people saw your billboard or how many people saw your ad on TV, now the value of your brand has to do with impressions. So how many people look at your stuff on Twitter, how many people see it on Instagram, how many people see it on TikTok. So that's fairly normal. But yeah, I'm not surprised that the Glazers are trying to manage the narratives out there, because it helps them. It gives them more leverage.
For the past 12 hours, it's been a battle between Reuters and Center Devils, and on then just they're going at each other. It's a battle, Neil Joyce. Neil Joyce is a financial expert at the Reuters. Wrote something about that they calculated anything between 115 215 million incremental revenues United can make through monetizing the global fans. And that's and then everyone shuts it down from the ball playing journalists here, to be honest. I mean, they go on pure finance. That's the thing, right? I mean, I'm just going hang on a second. We're coming to the final crescendo, and everyone wants to make a name. We're talking about Keegan's. We're talking about Ben Jacobs. They're running on different fan cams, this and that. And they're all playing it down. Even you have freaking Rio Ferdinand coming out to say, from credible sources. I'd rather trust what Rio Ferdinand said. This guy broke that Cristiano Ronaldo was coming in as well. So what's it going to be? I don't trust him anymore. Gone.
One thing I'll say is that the beauty in being in our position is that we have the opportunity to see all of these sources, read and keep tabs on it. So the reactions from yesterday, for example, when both sides of the story came out, there was a lot of fan reaction online, and in general, when it comes to digital media, there's a lot of manipulation that can be done in terms of using the fan base and getting the best out of their emotions. Yeah, so what I got from the Russo story, we know their legitimacy in terms of the business and economic side of things, but a lot of people went on a high, and then all of these other journalists, as we've been saying, born knowledge wise, those kind of journalists came in a more negative approach, and that's where they kind of had to come and defend themselves on a lot of these platforms.
Yeah, I've done numerous podcasts, and today I just blew my fuse. Yesterday, me and Jarvis had a therapy session for 2 hours. 5,000 people tuned in. At the end of the day, you have to provide a voice of sanity, because they're playing with the fan base. We're human beings. We're the consumers of the game. We are the product.
And that's where I was heading, because you see, it's very funny. In journalism, there is a massive and a large book of ethics.
Yes, it is, my friend. You know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You're taught when you're in university or anything like that, whether you have anybody, you're taught to get that book, read through that book, and understand all of the ethics in journalism. And it's like nowadays, nobody stands by the ethics.
No, it's whatever I'm saying, it's I'm right, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Don't question my opinion. That's it. Or I block you. You speak. Wait a minute. You speak like you know journalism, because when I went to school, my gaffer told me always was the principle. You always do your research, follow up, present fact A, fact B two sides of the story, present the truth in the middle, and let the audience decide, or the reader decide, make up your mind. Nowadays, no, we run with this narrative and we will double down. That's it, right? We've seen it so many times before, and that's why I'm calling a spade a spade. Sorry, man.
I was just going to say, like, to be fair, it's a technicality. So if I'm a journalist and I call, Mickey, and Mickey tells me one thing, I would have to run with that. Now, if MK has access to somebody else within the club and they tell them something else, like maybe by virtue of the access they have or the relationship they have, both people are correct. Both people are still compliant with journalistic ethics. You understand? And both of them have an incentive to defend whatever story that they've been fed that they're coming to repeat to you. So I don't blame the UK journalists who have gone to United to get one story or the other from them, because, like I said, United has an incentive to downplay certain narratives.
Yeah.
And those journalists, for the mere fact that they picked up the phone and they called someone and that person told them something, as far as they're concerned, they've complied with the ethics that's required.
True, in a way, but also there's two things as well. You can be an independent journalist, meaning that you're not bound by the editorial house, what kind of agenda they're towing, right? Trust me. If you're a freelancer, independent, you are not bound to that. You write freely, right? If you're working for a right wing, left wing, whatever political agenda driven or sponsored by some think tanks to pay you the money to toe certain lines, you run by that because they're paying your bills. That is the sad story today with those publications, right? We see numerous occasions they're printing human rights issues, sports washing, LGBT, nothing to do with the takeover, right? Just smear campaigns, and it's clear and obvious. And once you started that, you're not backtracking your story. But what I'm saying, you played with Manchester United fans' emotions, right? You're not going and talking about Manchester City that has 115, allegations against them in sports washing and, propping their budgets. You're painting the picture that the best team ever since sliced bread, right? So what a hypocrisy. But everything's coming out sooner or later. You see them sweating right now, and you see this media war. They are backing each other, attacking like Reuters, who is the what do you mean? This is the oldest publication, originally in business and finance. They adhere the ethics of journalism to the core. They don't have a bone to pick. They don't have a dog in the fight in this. They just report the facts.
So a rule of thumb that I use for reading journalism stories, like in politics or media, anywhere else, I think who benefits from the story being out there? Who is most likely to have leaked the story? Who benefits from this point of view? And what it looks to me like that is there's a war of leaks going on. So leaks coming from the Qatari side, leaks coming from Sir Jim's side, and leaks coming from the United side. From the Qatari side, it helps them, or it benefits them to have the leaks frame the transaction as done. So as far as Qatar is concerned, it looks better for them if everything looks like it's done, they're their preferred bidder and it's going. From United side, it's better for the Glazers if the leaks come out and say, oh, wait, hold on, calm down. It's not done yet. XYZ still possibly remain. From Sir Jim's side, so any leak that has to do with human rights abuses, sports washing, just best bet is coming from Sir Jim. So they're competing factions, out there trying to push their own narrative.
Yes,
and all of them are all technically complying with journalistic ethics, in their own way. The reason why I trust Reuters, because as you were saying, at least Reuters is an editor there. So before you print a story, you would go to your editor and say, oh, hey, this is my source. This is the story. An editor would verify exactly, every single thing in the story, check it. And Reuters, like you said, one of the oldest organizations out there. So I trust them. And I believe that the Qataris are in the pole position. But I think the Glazers are still trying to get some more things from Qatar, which is why the Glazers are trying to downplay the story, because they're still negotiating for some more points.
Before we continue, can I just read his profile from LinkedIn, basically? So I'm on his LinkedIn profile. Mr. Sen is the editor of the charge of US MN mergers and acquisitions at Reuters in New York, where he leads the news agency coverage of the biggest deals. Him and his colleagues regularly break market-moving news on the most high-profile deals and other corporate finance situations. Short brief.
Big up, Mick. Listen, Natalie, let's get into the women's. Obviously, you follow them. home and away this season. What an absolute season it's been. It's been an absolute thrill to watch. I remember last season when we had the worst season for the men's. My favorite were the youth team. I went to the majority of the games of the youth team where Garnacho and the rest of the boys and Kobe Manu, and the rest of them were absolutely ripping it up. And the women's team, just a refreshing to watch the women's team play with such a composure, togetherness, such a brilliant football. They've had the best season in any time in the history of Manchester United women's season. Obviously, missing out on the FA Cup, even though by far. That's what I always say when I talk about it, and when we talk about reacting to games. I always say there's 3 results in a football game: win, lose, or draw. But it's the way you lose. And the FA Cup final, I want, if any Manchester United team is ever going to lose a final, I want it to lose like that, where we did everything but put the ball in the net. And obviously in the league, Chelsea had games in hand because obviously the mad season that we've had with the World Cup and everything else, and the craziness. So Chelsea had games in hand, and Chelsea have been the benchmark. Let's not get into our words, because they've had an owner who believed in the vision and believed in every Chelsea team, their youth team, their women's team, their first team. Trophy. I mean, talk to me. Give us a bit of an analysis, and then please, can you also let us know about what has happened with what supposedly was going to be the first £1 million footballer striker, Russo?
Well, yeah, like you say, we was offered the money for her in January. Even we was offered big money for Onabache, who's the same kind of level, 16 assists from a fullback. For me, I think when you start getting over 10 assists, I know when the women's get, I don't want to compare it to the men, but when you start getting in those double numbers for fullbacks, that's real talk. We're talking about over 30 goal contributions. That's the kind of level that she's on a back chain. That's another one that's going to go, and it's slow. The way that they're negotiating is slow. So what's happened with the Russo is Arsenal have come in with this offer. Even before that, before the Euros, before England went and won the Euros, they offered her a deal. But instead of including her agent is a brother as well. So I do think there's a bit of emotion, maybe that side as well. And it could have been handled better both sides, but they offered her a deal where this is what I know from people that I speak to, where they didn't include the brother, the agent. And for me, I don't understand why you just wouldn't negotiate with the agent. That's the agent. That you're going to offer that deal. Obviously, she went to him, said they've offered me this deal. It was very low. They actually came out just before the Euros or just after the Euros and said, no, we accept that. It was unacceptable and we're going to make a substantial offer. Obviously, this offer never came in. They've been around the table 18 months with 8 different people. They brought in a director of women's football called Polly Bancroft. She's now been moved aside. She doesn't deal with the negotiations anymore. She did when she first came in. But I think the job is so big for her that she's having to deal with the first team, the academy, the this, the that. Whereas I think you see with the men's team, there's John Murter, there's Darren Fletcher, there's all different kind of people. Whereas above the women's team, it's just this Polly who's having to deal with everything. And, people are saying things about her, but I do feel like they're setting up a lot of the staff in the women's team to fail by doing these kind of things. So then Polly's been stepped aside, and there's a guy called Sam Barton, who's basically, I think he's like a lawyer kind of negotiator who does it on the men's side. He's coming into the women's side trying to negotiate with Russo and Honor, but unfortunately they're both getting better offers elsewhere. I mean, Honor is Catalan, she's going to Barcelona, but I was told if they had made a decent offer for her in January, even though they had Lyon, Bayern Munich, Barcelona all after her in the summer, and she had a great Euros, taking the time, long, slow, drawn out processes. I mean, it was drawn out with Alessia Russo, where they only came to her at the end of the season. So only after they had, done the FA Cup and all this kind of thing. And they said to her, oh yeah, here's the offer. She's been now going to be, well, like you're saying, £1 million player. She's getting paid the most as a Lioness. They're going into the World Cup. If England win the World Cup, that's her value just going up. She's a woman that's alongside signing deals, commercial deals alongside Kylian Mbappe and, Messi for like Beats by Dre. So she's, if you know about women's football, Alessia Russo is going to be a player that you're going to know about. And really, they had it too. Now, Alessia Russo, that was the one. It was Man United. Ella Toon's still there, surprisingly. I think it's because she's Manchester born and bred. You know, she'll stick by us. You know, I have heard that they are signing people. They are going to spend money. But I think all this, they are going to spend money is linked to who we're going to get. I am nervous for the women's team because, you know, there's 13 players out of contracts. And these aren't just, you know, these are like top players. Like you said, Alessia and Anna were the main people in that team. But we're looking at like Hayley Ladd, out of contract. Mary Earps, she's out of contract as well. So that's the England woman goalkeeper. It's talk that she might be sold because she doesn't want to stay. Not that she doesn't want to stay, but they just don't see the vision. And I think that's what happened with Alessia. They got fed up. And like I said, I do think there is a bit of both. I do think maybe the agent could be better on that side. But I can see the side. I can see the side with Man United. I mean, myself and a few people have started a fan group, and it's called Barmy Army MUWFC, and it's sort of unofficial, and we want to be putting out statements. And, you know, even if it goes to Qatar, if it goes to Sir Jim, for me, the women need to be a priority in a lot of it. I think, yeah, the men, they're a priority. I get it. But for me, unless they put in a structure there that's similar, that mirrors, or, you know, staff, investment, then it's just gonna fall apart. Because I think even if we throw £1 billion at the women's team, yeah, it'd be great, and you'd be able to get the best players. But if you've not got the people there, like the negotiation staff, the physios, the this, the that, it's just no one's gonna want to come because they just see it as a joke. Or you just get certain type of player that you don't want. But, you know, I don't know how it's gonna go.
Did the women have a good season this year?
Yeah, they finished second. 2 points behind Chelsea, who's won the league. FA Cup final.
Sean, they were in it. Listen, Sean, they were in it from the second or third week in the league. They were in a title challenge, and they sustained that to the last games of the season. It went down to the wire.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then they were in the FA Cup final.
That's been 5 years old. I mean, I know Nadine talks about Casey Stoney, but she had to walk away because of what happened before. I know that she wouldn't want to work away. She loved it here. This is her team, really, when you look at it. She walked away 2 years ago. Mark Skinner's done a good job, but even, you know, that I'm hearing question marks about him, you know, do they like him? Are they staying because of him? If Casey was still there, Alessia would be here. Alessia would have signed a deal. But the thing is, though, they would sign it because they love it. They want to play here. They're Man United fans. You know, Ella Toone, I think she's signed because she's Manchester United through and through. Yeah. It's like the Rashford of the women's team. Is Ella Toone got that number 7? You know, die hard. And
you can tell. It means the captain, Ella Toone. You can see it. It means what it means. But to me, I've absolutely loved watching this season's title race. That Villa game for me, oh my God, that Villa game. I was thinking, is that then our names on the trophy? But Chelsea have been a benchmark. They've been a benchmark. But I just want to jot your memory back to Andres Herrera. So Manchester United, Andres Herrera, one of the true story, what happened with him, is that actually the way near the... So don't be surprised. Some articles saying about Russo and actually I had both of them. Oh, they didn't want to sign the contract. They were demanding a lot more. They were doing what they were doing. Go ahead, Jarvis.
Yeah, I just have a question for Natalie. You know, the women's team with Russo leaving. She's probably the biggest star we have in the women's team. Is she ever going to be replaced, or is the team falling apart at the moment?
I don't know. We've been promised that even with Russo, they were getting someone in. So now Russo is gone, they'll get 2 in. But unfortunately, we've seen now, even with Chelsea, you said that Chelsea are the benchmark. Chelsea have just gone out and signed a top player, top US women national team, and name's Kat Macario. You know, that's what they're doing. They're adding. Chelsea have lost 2 players. They're bringing in. Even Aston Villa, like you're saying, Aston Villa have invested a lot in their women's team, but they've just lost their goalkeeper. They've brought someone in straight away. Even better, upgrade. And I'm, you know, you can always get better. There's always better player. You know, I'm not one of these people that are saying, you know, this and that. And
Player FC. You're not a Player FC.
I'm not a Player FC. There's always better people. But like you say, from this now, women's football is growing. You have to put money down. You know, and it's not a lot of money.
Manchester United is strong financially, or
no, Well, no, they are
Compared to
making
City and
around 6
Chelsea.
million. They are constantly making profit, constantly. So from day one, Manchester United women are the only team that make profit in the Super League. Every other team is in debt, is, you know, losses of 4 million. Chelsea losses of 4 million. City losses of 3 million. United are making the biggest revenue in the only second to Barcelona. Barcelona have just won the treble, Barcelona women. So they're second to Barcelona, who are winning Champions Leagues, winning trebles, and Man United women are 5 years old, making 6 million. I know it's nothing you know, we're talking about it.
No, Natalie, it is. Natalie, it is. 5 years old, it is. And you know the maddest thing about it? They're breaking up a team now that came so close. It's about consolidation, keeping that team together, and adding even more quality to fight with Chelsea next season, to fight with Manchester City, to fight with Arsenal. But guess what we're doing, people? We're going to lose 2 of our best players this season because that's fucking Glazer fucking nomics.
Are we going to lose them, or we've already lost Russo? Like
lost them.
Yeah, the Russo is gone.
What I will say is our budget. If you look at our wage bill, it came out the other day, 2 million, right? Bearing in mind they're making 6 million and they're making profit. 2 million wage budget. If you look at Arsenal, Chelsea wage budget, 6 million, 5 million, 4 million. This is, and you know, I come on this show and I feel guilty trying to say it is a lot of money. People, other women's football teams are going
not
bankrupt.
really.
But yeah, in the grand scheme, that's all they want. They want something like 300k a year. That's, you know, that's what probably Russo is on now at Arsenal.
The thing is, like, you know, this is why I always wanted, like, an CEO manifesto that you pledge, you know, invest in the women's football team as well, right? Because it's been far neglected for far too long. Honest to God, like, you know, you I mean, there was even backstories that you even had to change in the shed room, like, you know, not long ago as well, like, you know, you know what I mean? It's just like
Casey left because of these things.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's Manchester United. That's the thing, right? And I really hope that the new ownership, whoever comes in right now, just playing the devil advocates, that they pledge the investments not for infrastructure, for the women's training ground, investing, having a kitty and pot, so you guys can also, I mean, we guys can operate in the transfer market and keeping our star players. You know, it's not just about the men's team; it's about women's team and the academy and everything. So the whole package is, and as far as I understand, the pledge that Night 2 Foundation includes that as well, which is damn fantastic.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be very interesting to see, and very, very interesting to see. But I'm not going to lie to you, we're not a football club. Exactly what you just explained about the women's. Andreas Herrera, I just want to jog your memory back. But what they actually did to Andreas Herrera, they were like, he's asking for some ludicrous money. No, he wasn't. He wanted to stay. He really wanted to stay at Manchester United. But they came to him. Same thing with Tevez. Even when Fergie was there. Same thing with Tevez. They come to the players too late. When it's too late. When it's too late. And that is part of it. That's Glazer. Fucking. And that's what pisses me off. And when you explain that to fans, they're like, you're just negative. Because you don't want to know the truth. If you don't know the truth, how your club behaves with these effing bankers and how inadequate they are at every level of this football club. So for me, this is Casey Stoney left. I just want to tell people this. Casey Stoney left, right? She left, you know why? Because the way they treated her and the team during the lockdown, where all this kind of COVID rules came in, they were changing out of bloody like tractor, those kind of things that you would take on a camping holiday. That's what they were camper vans. That's what they were changing out of. Not even sanitize it. Not even like proper sanitized stuff like they were using. This is Manchester United. Also, we are that in name. We're not in operation. The one that told the most truth. The one that told the most truth was Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Zlatan came in and Zlatan said, you know what, from the outside, Manchester United, huge football club, monster of one of the biggest clubs in world football. He goes, come in there. He's like, what the hell? Smallest mentality. Small mentality.
But that's bad because bankers took over. That's the thing.
Mm.
No football operation. I mean, just think about Ander Herrera that was treated the same way, what was his name? The Argentinian goalkeeper that we keep dilling and dulling, and
Romero.
he was
Romero.
Romero. What a keeper! What happened to him? Basically misused him. Basically, he wanted to go. We didn't let him go. I don't know what happened. I mean, he was such a fantastic.
It got so embarrassing. His wife was on Instagram begging the football club, please let us go.
Mm.
Can I just touch on the Casey thing? Can I just touch on it? Yeah, she's in America because she has to be, and she would be here. I know that for a fact. Like, you know me, I'm like you.
I know you got connections. I know you got
to people, and I know this woman loves this football club. Yeah, even more than me, and I love this football club. The way that this woman loves this football club, but I mean, what I was sort of told, it was I didn't want to leave. I had to leave because of the way it was, and like you say, training on frozen pitches. We've heard about the way to keep not Carrington, but the other one. What's it called? You know, what's the other one? They've come out with Mike Keegan came out of it and say it's basically derelict, but that's why they sent the women to train.
Yeah.
The cliff, derelict.
Cliff.
And it's only just come out now.
You know what?
That's where the women had to change. There was construction all around them, and like you said, now they're in little portaloos and all these cabins that they were training in. They've only just now, after what happened at Liverpool and she left, that they've only just now said we're building this building. And I don't know if people seen that pictures of a building, but that is for the women's team. And people are like, why the women's team? But this is 2 years in the making that has come. 2 years ago they promised that building, and they've only just starting it now.
Little too late.
And somebody had to lose their job. They're probably one of the most critical person, a manager that is a diehard Manchester United, and she wanted to win the league. She had the vision. I remember watching her statement when she was going, that it's like they broke her. They literally broke her. They broke her. So at the end, listen, this is what we are. This is what we are. And I'm just hoping and praying. I can't tell you guys. I'm hoping and praying we're going to just be talking about the football, the performances. We're not going to be talking about football structures. We're not going to be talking about this person, that person. We're not going to be talking about owners not communicating, owners not doing their job, putting people in bank that know nothing about football. But it is the way it is. It is the way it is. And CM, I'll come back to you, and I'll come back to Mick in a minute.
Yeah.
Just give me some positives. What's the positives, man? I'm going to go around to all of you and just give me some positives.
The positives is that we are about to turn the page, Noradin. Everything is PTSD. Inshallah. Look, it was a laughing stock today. It just came to my head right now. I saw an article that Manchester City Academy are selling the two twin boys of Darren Fletcher to Manchester United, who is the technical director. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. So now done with these boys, jobs for boys and all that stuff. We need a total revamp, need an open heart surgery within the club. And it's true what they're saying, like they would do 100 days review. Anything above, the playing and coaching staff needs to go, right? We need to sort of restore it to be a football club, not a business anymore, because we all know it's been like, run as what you said. When Zlatan came in, he said like a biggest club on the outside, inside small mentality, because it's been hijacked by bankers. It's been giving like Matt Judge, the basically uni mates, Richard Arnold, same. Bankers, commercials.
Bankers. And the way that he was trying to make it out, that all that stunt that he did. But CM, where's the positive that you like? For me, listen, I shouldn't really be too impatient because I always said I'll take a relegation. That's how much I hate Glazers. If you know me in real life, I'm not a hateful person. Natalie will tell you, I'm not a really hateful person. You know what I mean? In reality, but I absolutely hate them with my chest, with everything, with every ounce of cell in my body. I hate them because I don't hate them because I'm personal, because they destroyed my football club when we were so far ahead. So for me, it's not even a PTSD. It's that I'm willing to take a relegation to get rid of them.
I'm starting to think they're doing this deliberately. They could have sold the club like 2-3 months ago. But I think they're doing it deliberately, like a cockhole, to be honest. Sorry, my language, Natalie, but you know what I mean. This is the way to get back to us. Like you protest, you slag the name, you drag the name, and this is my revenge back to you. Hold on. I still have the power. So basically, I'm going to hold on and going to potentially ruin your transfer market. And this is because when people move out from the office, they seem to trash the office before the new tenants come in. You know what I mean? But it's just me, like, this is not what I'm thinking is going on. But at the end of the day, I get it. I just fucking hate them too.
Listen, you got to speculate what's going on. But CM, where's the positives? To me, I'm happy to take this next season ruined. But if Ten Hag will know that hopefully the season after he will be supported. But for me, the pressure is going to be on him. You know what some of our fan base is like. Some of our fan base are toxic. If Manchester United are nowhere near finishing 4th next season, which could possibly happen, because I don't believe like these targets or what the players that we link with, we're losing out on players. That was always the danger. We're losing out on players. But for me, I'm happy to have another horrendous season to get rid of them. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Like, I'm happy to take a relegation. And the reason why I say that, because I know people, older Reds, who are living around me in Manchester, they said that was the biggest gate in British football. It's the biggest gate. When we went down, we got more fans actually going to the stadium in the 1970s. But see, how do you see it ending? Do you see any positives? Could you ever see Ten Hag walking? Or can you think, you know what, he's here for the longer term project, he's going to stay?
I think at this moment of time, he is committed to the long-term projects. But, I was actually going to touch on something that you brought up, Noradin, because regarding the fan base, I think it's important now more than ever, especially with the resources that, hundreds of thousands, millions of us around the world have at our disposal. The same thing, social media, our ability to read and interpret the many words that are put into journalistic articles in general. One thing that a lot of the fan base needs to stop doing is seeing, initial sources or people online coming out and saying certain things and reacting rashly off of it. A few years ago, I was kind of in that same mode where I looked at things and I thought about things rashly. But as time went on, developments on and off the pitch, we start to realize and understand things on a bigger level, on a bigger scale. You start to observe, you start to understand, you start to interpret things in your own with your own understandings and your own learnings. So when it comes to the articles that come out from today onwards, I would really challenge everybody that's in the chat, everybody who may be coming across this video and watching, to read not just one, but the multiple articles that come out and read the words carefully. Don't just read it once, read it twice, read it 3 times sometimes, and form your own opinion on those things, because the reaction that came out around the Rooters and then the British journalists, it was an example of how potentially we can get caught in a trap. And there are a lot of immature people online who will promote stories and boost the reputations of journalists who potentially don't deserve that kind of recognition, because they know 100%. What they're trying to do in terms of manipulating a fan base and taking advantage of the power that these clicks and the millions of people online can give to you. So once again, just read stories. Be careful with what you say on the internet. Be careful with how you think, because whether you like it or not, especially in this day and age, it's Manchester United. A lot of these companies, journalists who release articles on a daily and weekly basis, they put out stories to see how you react, and they act upon those reactions.
Yep.
And we've spoken a lot about the legitimacy of journalism in general, but that is how they operate nowadays. So we can't, as a fan base, continue to go around in this vicious cycle where we speak about managers or we speak about individual players in general and allow that to distract us from the real facts. And there are many, many different obstacles along the way when it comes to Manchester United. There's the Glazers, there's the board, there's maybe some players, there may be managerial issues, on pitch, off pitch issues, but we can't continue to just focus on one thing and have tunnel vision. We have to be able to look around at one point and assess all of the issues so that we have a bigger and better understanding of what's going on at our football club.
Big up. 100% echo what you're saying there.
Jarvis, give me the hope. Come on, Jarvis. Never gonna give you up.
Yeah.
Never gonna let you down.
Yeah.
No, I really, when it comes to the club, uh, from board point of view and how the club is run, it's a mess. But from the positives, we have Ten Hag. For me, Ten Hag is one of the only positives. His winning mentality is through the roof. I know we are sometimes critical of his winning mentality. He don't know how to take a loss. It has cost us against Liverpool 7-0, and against City we lost 6-3. But he just wants to score goals. He wants to go for the win. And also the same with the Europa League. It cost us too much, but he couldn't let it go. He want to win. That's in his DNA. He's 100% in the game to win. So if we give him what he wants, he will bring us back to be a top club again. That's a positivity.
Yeah, big up Natalie. You obviously you went to some of the men's games this season, aren't you? You going to
I go to. I've been around. I was at Seville as well. I mean, what a game to pick, but it is what it is.
Actually, you know what? You just brought it up. David De Gea, Disco Mirror. Said David De Gea, come on, talk to me.
Yeah, I think it's. I love the guy. Yeah, as a everything he'd done before. I don't think people should just think about now. Yes, it was embarrassing, Seville. Yes, it was embarrassing, the FA Cup final, but he's done great things, and I think, thank you, sir. Those times, even Fulham, I was there, Stretford End, and saved that penalty, man. It threw me back to when he saved it against Leighton Baines and stuff, and it threw me back. I thought, oh God, he saved a penalty, and he went out like that, and fair enough. Then but it's time. Thank you, sir. That's all we should really say. I want. We're hearing the names that have been. I know that Costa, is talking he's going Tottenham and stuff, but I do think it is time, and it's time for a lot of them to just say thank you, and I think that's going to happen. I just want to talk about a little positive. Positive for me is the women's team. It is doing well. It is the men's team. It is doing well. I heard you before what you were saying about Ten Hag. I think he's going to work away. He has the same standard as Casey. He has the same standard, and I don't think he will. But we need that takeover, and I think it is coming. I agree. I do think it is just they will try and long it out, but I do think they can't long it out for as well. I hope. Touching the wood. But just want to say Norway. I see you in the background with the Norway sticker.
Yay.
Yeah.
You're Norwegian, no?
No, I'm not Norwegian, but I love Norway. So yeah.
Cool,
and if
cool.
Manchester, we've got our roots there. So
Yeah.
Exactly. The love that us Mancunians are in love with Norway. We love Sweden as well, because we have some amazing Swedish players.
We do.
And you know what? So Scandinavia at Manchester United is there. It's the connection is there. It's tight.
Yeah. I mean, we got Premier League here from
players. Jarvis, obviously in the UK media is breaking that. Sport media breaking that. Well, one article actually in the Disco Mirror is saying that David De Gea is done out here. To me, there must be something in it, because the contract was ready 2 weeks ago. It was ready 2 weeks ago. So there's something must be in it, Jarvis. What do you think is going on? And do you think if it's time to go in it? I think I've heard you and Mick, we all agree that he's been a great servant for me. And I always have to remind people, on the Moyes, on the Van Gaal, on the Jose, sometimes on the Ollie, woo! The saves. That's why we always sing, everywhere you go, always
take the weather, take United with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but De Gea, he's been a loyal servant for the club so many years. He's been great. He won the Players of the Year. I think it was 5 years in a row during the Van Gaal Mourinho time. De Gea has been a great goalkeeper, but for me, he doesn't suit the modern style of football. I think it's the time has passed him, and being a good shot stopper is not enough in today's game. We need a modern goalkeeper who's confident with distributing the ball and with who has a range of passing, both short, medium, and long range passing. And for me, I would like to go for a younger kind of goalkeeper who can adapt. I think it will be better for Ten Hag to. He's done it before with Unana and other goalkeepers, so we don't actually need to go for Costa and pay 70 million. I think that's a little bit too much. We can go for a
70 million euros. It's not 70 million pounds, 70 million euros.
okay, yeah.
Look at somewhere like 55 to 60 with the plus add-ons. I'm happy to take that because I think that's it. You got that position sorted for the next decade. That's how I think about Costa. That the next decade and a half, that position is sorted.
Yeah, if it's achievable, I'm not sure. It's hard to bargain with the Portuguese clubs. We remember what happened with Bruno. We have to wait for the summer winter window to get him. It's always difficult, and they know how to bargain. It's a tough bargain with Benfica and other clubs. And when it comes to Portuguese transfers, it's always a media circus. They have their journalists leaking all kind of stuff all the time. So it will be a long way to get him, I think. And I would like us to get a keeper in for the preseason for Ten Hag to drill his system and how to play out from the back and include Dalot and Shaw and the center backs. And we need a goalkeeper, but I'm not sad that De Gea is leaving. It's just one of those things. Being sentimental for players, that's not me. I'm all about the club.
Big up. Go ahead, Mick.
No, I always look from a people perspective, from a human side. I mean, just to bring some positive, 18 years we waited for this moment. This is like surreal, right? It's going to happen. I know the feeling, but if we waited 18 years, a few more days or a week for a full announcement to take, I mean, we covered everything. There's no way they're going to stay. It's going to be 100% full sale. So yeah, we can wait. You know what I mean? And just look forward for the future. But in terms of from a player's side, I look at it. If you're not on a keep list, you're not a player to retain. You don't want to sort of you're on a sort of 30. You're a family man. You just got a baby. Your wife is in Spain, right? Why would you take a pay cut all of a sudden? All of a sudden, Saudi Arabia comes in, offer you big money. I mean, obviously, United need money as well. Offer money to sort of take him over. You can earn like 400 quid over there in Saudi Arabia. They are just mad at the moment, right? Throwing money. So for us, it's like, as I said, De Gea has been a loyal servant. Thank you so much, but it's time to move on, right? And if we can generate some money from De Gea, that adds on to the potty, like, in going to the transfer market as well.
Yeah, I don't think we can. I don't know if we can get money for him because of the wages that he's on. His contract is run out now? I think his contract might have run out right now. I think this was it. He's on his last.
But you still get him off the wage bill, like
100%. So yeah, 375,000. That's a lot. Yeah.
And that's kind of decreasing the FFP
in the world and not performed nowhere.
Because what the journalist is saying about FFP and spendings, but you also got to decrease the wage bill, and David De Gea is highest payer.
Yeah,
so that's a big plus as well.
100%, I totally agree. CM on David De Gea.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. In the end of the day, David De Gea has given us some great years. Unfortunately, within a lot of the fan base, that has been forgotten for the things that have happened more in recent times. But we can remember David De Gea in his prime and what he was able to give us and how he was able to save us in many different occasions. But football moves quickly. Things change. We've seen that in the Premier League within the last decade. It's a large reason why Pep Guardiola has come over to Manchester City and had a lot of success, not just in England, but Europe. Really raised the skill profile in general of not just Manchester City, but the Premier League and what's required in order to really go toe-to-toe with them in terms of competing for a league title, competing for a Champions League and so forth. So when it comes to David De Gea, there will have to be a replacement, and getting him off the wage bill will be helpful. It's not his fault that he's getting his wages first and foremost. We look at the board and the Glazer ownership for that, and the fact there are many other players earning a high wage and have earned a high wage in the past at Manchester United for that same reason. But best of wishes to David De Gea, because even this season he's been able to save us in certain scenarios. But once again, it's just a thing where recency bias always seems to kick in on the internet, and people will.
Sometimes, to me, a career ends. You don't go back to that form once you were. So he's been a great servant. He's been highly paid, highly rewarded at Manchester United. For me, he's a legend because he won a Premier League and he was the goalkeeper that kept us, competing for that Premier League. But it is what it is. He won an FA Cup. He just didn't win a European Cup. That's the only thing he's not won.
I just think that, and it's not everybody, but I think there needs to be a level of decency when it comes to at least showing respect to somebody of the ilk of David De Gea for what he's done for this team.
I agree with you. I agree. There's a way. It's all about celebrating. I mean, some people are celebrating. I'm not celebrating, but I'm just glad that it needs to be done.
Yeah.
No sentimentality. At the end of the day, the guy's been there for a decade. He will always be a Manchester United legend. He would always be happy to come back. He will always have a key to Manchester. No problem. Natalie, big up to Eski, by the way. I hope you and the boys are having a big, really good time in Morocco. I love Morocco, man. Come on now. That food, that machine.
Bring back Sophie and Amrabat.
Get Amrabat, man. Go and see Amrabat.
Bring him out. Pack him in your suitcase, Eski. Come on, bring him home.
Yeah. Listen, even though he plays in Italy, make sure you get to his family, man. Let them know. Natalie, we're going to give you the last. Say big up, by the way, Super Nick. Good to see you, sis. Making a lot of sense. Big up to United Devil. Big up everybody. Every single one of you. Tonight, I've done an experiment, actually. The experiment was that I'm not going to stop. I'm not every 10 minutes. I'm not going to ask and beg you to smash a like on the video. I'm going to see if some of you use your initiatives and actually smash a like on the video. So can somebody please tell me how many likes we got on the video? But big up to all the regulars. Natalie, you've got the last word. You have the last word. Listen, and you know what, Natalie? I always said this is your channel. And anytime you want to come on, anytime you want us inform, we talk about the women's team here constantly. I always talk about Caicedo and how the women's team is treated. We talk about it. We talk about how well they were doing and what kind of a season they've been having. So 100% the support and love for me. And soon as they get that stadium into Manchester, near Old Trafford, I'll be there. Honestly, no whatever. Like, I'll be there. 1 week could be the women's. 1 week could be the United. That's how it's going to be for me. You know what I mean? That's how it's going to be for me. But for me, I'm like, I'm just kind of like, why do I have to go and organize something to go to Lee, another city? So there you go. Take it away, Nick. Sorry, Natalie. Take it away.
Yeah, that's what they need. That's what they need. I know that people will come through a lot more, but it has been doing well. The women has been showing up more. I think we need the Qatar or, whoever takes over to just put that money in to definitely have them the equal. It's not the men's team all the time. It's the women, it's the women's academy, it's the men's academy, it's all of them. Treat the girls from 12 coming up need to be treated the same, even the 23 girls need to be treated the same, pay them, keep them in our books, let the girls from Manchester come through, but have that money to come through. Because it's money, everything's money.
Yeah,
in this
and recognize and listen to the fans. And listen to fans like you who are absolute diehard, who organize coach from outside Old Trafford or town or city centre to take everybody to Lee. I see you on the away games. I see you all the time. I'm there watching it on the BBC because it's on terrestrial TV. It's on the website. And I'm there. I'm like, spot Natalie. I'm like, there she is. There she is.
But that's what I'm saying. If it's in your local town, come through. If you're in Birmingham, come when it's the Villa games. Come when it's Birmingham. If you're in London, come when it's the Arsenal, come when it's the Chelsea, we need all that team, we need the fans through, and it's Man United,
Exactly.
Wembley was packed up because it was Man United.
Exactly. Listen, Natalie, it's not even that. Before what you were saying, I don't want women's, I don't want youth, I don't want women's academy. I want every team that represents the Manchester United who wears that badge, every team to have a standard and a goal and an objective and a drive to get there, to get to excellence and to competing for everything that we can compete. So I want everybody to be treated in that way. Like you said, the Manchester United women, why? Because of our fan base and the acceleration and and all of the work that Caicedo has done.
Yeah, and what I want to say is the first time ever in women's football, it sold out Wembley is the day when Man United went there. So that's what people need to realise, that this is, like you're saying, this is the badge. This is what people come for. This is what people want to watch. And let's not be paying them little mini things and hoping that they'll stay on loyalty. Yeah, we want them to stay on loyalty. Yeah, we want them to do that. But let's do it. Let's show them. Because we can clean up now. We're in Europe. Yeah, the women's first time in Europe. So it's about, you know, setting that standard and not, I don't want to go to Europe just to get knocked out. I want to go there and compete and be the best as well. And we should want that for both our teams. You know, I want parades, and I want the women to be there alongside them carrying their trophies too, you know. And that's what we all want, I think, for all the teams to have all the trophies, and that's what we support Man United.
We hope and pray. And big up to our under 21s or under 23 women's last year. They were the most successful team in Manchester United. I'm sure they did the double, didn't they?
They did the double,
They won the cup, So big up to them.
They need to get celebrated as well. You know, Man United girls in Manchester are coming through big. So let's put money into them as well.
It's incredible. All my friends, I'm telling them, I'm encouraging them. I used to encourage them even before the game took off anyway, to get their girls play, because I think what thing I love about football, everybody can play. Everybody. And you don't need that much to play. You don't need expensive equipment to play. And it's such a fun thing. And honestly, I'm realizing it just by the Euros being hosted in this country. I saw the massive, like a lot of my friends, their daughters, the connection that they have now is unbelievable. They've got it with their boys, but the connection they have with their daughters now through football is out of this world. And for me, the women's game, the levels of improvement is unbelievable. By the way, people, I just want to quickly remind you, I studied degree in sport. One of my favorite modules, or the modules that I did, was history of sport. I just want to tell you people, when football started in the UK, in England, more people went to watch the women's game. I repeat, the people at the back, more fans would turn out to watch the women's game. But the FA and the ruling government at that time were like, "No, we can't be having that." So it just shows you. It shows you, to me, the level of improvement and the quality. The women's improve since the women turned pro is unbelievable. I can't wait what it's going to be like in another 5 years.
This is what I'm saying. You know that the women's team have that. You know that you love the women's team. I love the women's team. I was going week in, week out to the men's team. And I do still go to the men's team, but not like I go to the women's team. And this is what I'm saying. If the women just got that little bit of investment, they would see the numbers. They would see it all. It would be there. People are coming in numbers now, but they would be coming even more. And I just feel like United just need to put that effort into it. You know, when they do play at Old Trafford, come down, man. Because you know that the men's aren't. Come, support.
Listen, we hold the record. We hold the record for the biggest crowd in a home game for women's. Like, we break it. I think Arsenal matched us. It was Champions League game. But we break it. And I can't wait next season to play games at Old Trafford in the Champions League. I cannot wait. I can't go to games at night. Watch the women's team in the Champions League playing the likes of Barcelona, the likes of Lyon, the likes of like Bonn. You know what I mean? Like the likes of the teams in Germany. So it's going to be big. I'm super excited. Listen, smash a like, people. If you're not going to smash a like for the podcast, smash a like for Natalie. Natalie's
big up.
Natalie,
absolutely pleasure to meet with you.
Listen, anytime you want to come on and tell it, honestly.
If anyone, if you need me to talk, because they need the women, you know, and like I said, and I know the numbers and know what's going on, and you know, and like you're saying, it's all right just putting the money in, but they need to put the people alongside it, and you know, investment isn't just money; it's the time, it's the effort, it's the care, it's the thought, you know, and
it's the love. Natalie, it's the love and care.
We need that.
The love and care. Nobody cared and love for Manchester United. Our owners don't love and care. They actually do the opposite. So to have owners who care, it's gonna be. I might be falling all over the place to see owners that care. You know what I mean? To have owners that might want to communicate and care, it's gonna be a weird thing for me, but it is. But we welcome it. Big up to everybody. This is probably one of the longest streams that we've done, but there's so much to get through. It has been one of those things. But big up to everybody. Love and light. And I just want to let everybody know where everybody's at. Listen, if you don't get to 200 likes, it's a shame in it, because we've had constantly like almost 270, 280, nearly 300 people in here constantly throughout the nearly 2 hours. So I just want to go to right next to me, CM 22 ENTN. Basically, if you're a streamer, gamer, go and check out. You can see behind him there. It's the MBA. He's into MBA. He does the watch-alongs. He does everything. He's just come out of university. He's a journalist, so go and check out his stuff. Go and give him a follow. He's across all social media, by the way. All across social. CM20TENT. Check him out. And he does the brilliant twins, Manchester United twins, on his channel. The content is brilliant. So go and check that out. Our Natalie, you can catch our Natalie at Natalie. So on Twitter, you can go and check her out there. And Natalie, she's always there on anything to do with the women's. She's there before games, talking to the players, having a really close contact with the players and everything that's going on. And she's super passionate United fan. She was there from 2005 on the protest. One of the people there, the originals anti-Glazer, because we knew what they were going to do. It weren't no secret. We knew what we were going to do. So go and check her out. Natalie, are you on any YouTube channel now at the moment?
Yeah, it's called Only One United Club. So check that out. I'm going to be doing and we have done it here, but I'm going to be doing more in depth about what's going on this summer for the women. So definitely check that out. And listen, guys, get on Barmy Army WFC. But you'll see it in my post. But yeah, get on that because we're going to be putting out statements from the minute it's released. You know, we're going to be on it because I feel like the women's team does need to be front and foot, not just, you know, it needs to be invested in. And like you say, it's that love, it's that care that I've not had.
There we go. Big up. Listen, big up our Natalie. And then at the bottom here, we got Mr. Mick Ruby, Man UFC Realist TV, the road to 20K people. So make sure you jump on there. And it's at Mick Ruby at Mick Ruby, just on Twitter. Out there.
Yeah.
The man with the funniest United caps ever.
I'm so tired, man. So tired. So big up. It was a sheer pleasure to meet your fellow colleague. Just congratulations for your graduation as a journalist. Follow your heart, follow your path, and always do research. Always seek for the truth. That's all I can say. Natalie, what a pleasure to meet you. Absolutely. You know, women's team needs to be spoken more about, more content creators regarding women, 100%. And Mr. Structure Nerdin, as always, thank you for everything that you do, for the fans, for the therapy sessions. If you're speaking about therapy session, you should have seen our 2 hours and 30 minutes podcast yesterday. That was
I'm going to listen to that. I might be going on a bit of a trip tomorrow, so I'm going to listen to that on my way. That
was madness. And the thing is, we didn't have a planned content. We just jumped on and said, this is for you. And it was actually the community that drove the content. So that's why it ended up. So should I cut it off in pieces? No, I'll leave it as it is.
No, leave it as it is.
So big up. Yeah.
There's some big up to Jarvis Cockaboli 77. And like I said, Natalie, so let me just get at what your at is actually. I don't know why it's not doing it. Yours is not coming up. Jarvis is coming up. I don't know. Oh, okay. Maybe I just need to click on it like
Jarvis mentioned something interesting yesterday, like, you know, Mick, I'm your wingman, so we Top Gun, so you're Ice and I'm Maverick or something like that.
It is. Natalie, is it like that? Is it at Natalie _17 on Twitter?
Yeah.
And what's the channel called?
United, Only One United channel.
Yeah.
I just hit you a follow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Me too.
Yeah. Make sure you follow our Natalie. Yeah. Anything to do with the women. That's how I stay informed about the women's team. I just always on her posts. I check her posts daily because she's always on it. And make sure those people who are into gaming as well, check out CN. Make sure you check him out as well. Make sure you check him out, people. It is there and everywhere, people. Big up to Mick Ruby. I'll definitely try to check that out tomorrow if I want to go on that journey and listen to that podcast. But big up to everybody. Love and light. And big up to the Therapy Army. Honestly, without you, there is no show. Without you, you do the show with us. Nobody, other than I think Saeed, nobody interacts with the comments like we do around here, man, on YouTube. We always have to interact. Because we're a streaming service. And now and again, I might have to start making little videos, but I'm a streamer. That's what I am. I love the interaction. I'm too ADHD to just do one video, sit still and do one video, and then then post it. I'm too ADHD for that. I need the interaction. I need that. I need it what it is. So big up to everybody. Please smash a like on your way out. If it doesn't get at least 200 likes, I don't know what I can do. You know what I mean? We're gonna finish. I'm just gonna wait couple of more seconds because I want to be one of the biggest.
How Scholesy?
You know what I mean? So big up to everybody. With a possible Qatari over there, is that possible? With possible Qatari takeover? That's possible. Yeah. Hopefully, listen. I'm not gonna lie to you. No owners are perfect. No owners are perfect. There's no perfect human beings. There's no perfect situations. There isn't. But there is tender and care, and there is strategy and goals and ambition and the will to win. That's what it is. So Qataris, they might come, they might make mistakes. I'm happy for I'm happy for them to make mistakes. So I want to see if they learn from those mistakes. So it will be what it will be. But I know we're not going to have anywhere, whoever it is that takes over, we're not going to have anybody as disgraceful as the Glazers. We're not going to have that. So please let me know what we on likes in terms of likes, people. Go on, somebody's post it. There you go. CM20 United Twins, United Perspective, and more great content. There you go.
That's it.
There you go, people. Go on.
And we had some drama with Scholesy and the pigeon, and I hope he's all right then. Hey, this is Scholesy. I love him. He's a legend, Scholesy.
He's calmed down now. He's calmed down, the little rascal. But I have to put the pigeon outside. Oh, God, I have to go and put it in the bin now. Honestly, it's surreal. It's surreal. If he brings them home, like it's like, here you go. Look at this present.
200 now. 200, right?
Big up. Listen.
Big up,
big
everyone.
Up. Love, people. Love. Take care. Take care, people. Love and light. Oh,
Good night, people.
Can't believe the women's losing the beat 9 player from nothing. We should have let it go for in January. We could use those players now. This is why we need the Glazers out. Women's football. Yeah, man. This is how it is. This is how it is, man. This is how it is. Big up to everyone.
Hey, Nora, one last question for you. I see your guy, Scamacca, is leaving from West Ham to Rome. What's your comment?
I love to have him at Manchester United. I told you guys.
Stop him at the airport. Have a chat with him.
Mikel Antonio came out on a podcast and said what I've been saying in Spaces. David Moyes was never the guy for him. Never the guy for him. For Manchester United, he would be brilliant. Why don't we go hijack that plan? Do you think he wants to go to Rome and go and play for Manchester United in the Champions League? Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Okay. Can I just go back to that Vincent, what he just said about, I suppose, the Glazers and the Glazonomics and stuff? Like, imagine all those private jets they took that could pay for all them players, that were losing. So that's all you need to think about it as.
There you go. There you go. 700, I think it's about almost 1 million he's waited on private jet fuel, right? Flying from there and everywhere. That could have done all of that and could have even added more to next season. Listen, the most profitable football club after Barcelona in Europe, 5 years, only 5 years, right? 5 years in the running, and we're losing players right, left, and center. Tell me if it's not Glazonomics, then what the F it is. Call me negative all you want. This has been your real, red, and raw podcast, people. Catch us in the next one. Love, light, win, lose, or draw. Glazers out, bankers out. Peace. We hope and pray for a better day. We hope and we pray for a better day because we deserve it as fans. We've been through the mill. But big up to every one of you. Love and light. Please smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. We're on the road to 10K, people. We keep it raw. We keep it real. If you like your news, if you like your analysis, if you like your discussions raw and real, you're at the right channel. Peace, love, light. Take care. Make sure you follow everybody. Everybody follow.
Everybody.
That's what we do, people. We're one united. One united. One united. That's what we are. Women, men, youth, one united. That's who we are. We stand on the shoulders of giants, people. The railway workers who started this football club. And look what it became. That's what we stand on. Green and gold till the club is sold, people. It's simple. Love and light, people. Peace. Take care.
Peace. Take care.